competition at the time was fierce. We were under
So
extreme
in other
pressure.
words, it was all a calculated risk, wasn't it?
Perhaps. No, I wouldn't say that. There were the automatic watertight doors.
Only 12, sir, at the very bottom of the ship. That left over 20 more that had to be closed manually. And on the night of the collision, some were and some were not. You know as well as I, Mr. Ismay, Titanic safety features, contrary to popular belief, were not state-of-the-art.
Can you tell us anything about the inspection and the certificate that was made and issued before sailing?
Yes, the ship receives a Board of Trade passenger certificate. Otherwise, she would not be allowed to carry passengers.
Ah, yes, the glorious Board of Trade, run by rich businessmen for the benefit of rich businessmen.
Madam.
Fortunately, the regulations never got in the way of luxury and opulence until a tragedy came along, of course.
The government regulated it was necessary. That has benefited everyone who crossed the Atlantic.
Really? They were thinking of the passengers.
Well, yeah.
Quite cold, is it not?
Yes, sir. It's only 1 degree above freezing.
Not much wind either.
No, sir. A flat calm.
A flat calm. If the weather becomes the slightest bit hazy, we will have to slow down.
Yes, sir. Pity there's no moon. Hopefully the breeze will kick up a bit as we near the ice.
Well, if in the slightest degree doubtful, let me know.
Yes, sir.
So Captain Smith left the bridge to his officers, knowing full well they may encounter ice.
Not an unheard of thing to do. He had an experienced crew.
Most of them had never worked together before. Plus it was the Titanic's maiden voyage, and Captain Smith was very unfamiliar with handling a
He
ship.
followed standard procedures.
And by doing so, doomed his ship.
Am I to understand that even with the knowledge you've had through coming through this Titanic disaster, that at the present moment, if you were placed in the same circumstances, you would still go banging on at 21.5 knots an hour?
I should not say I would bang on at all. I do not approve of the term banging on. That looks like carelessness, you know. Looks like I would recklessly slap her into it and bang on regardless of anything. Undoubtedly, I should not do that.
What I want to suggest to you is that it was utter recklessness, given the circumstances which you have described as abnormal, and having had the knowledge through various sources that ice was in your immediate vicinity, to proceed at 21.5 knots.
Then all I can say is that recklessness applies to practically every commander on every ship crossing the Atlantic Ocean.
They tried to keep us down. At first, on our steerage deck, they did not want us going up to the first class place at all. But some tried to get out. There was one steerage passenger getting up the stairs, and just as he was going in this little gate, a sailor came along and chucked him down. But then this sailor locked the gate. This fellow got excited, went up after him, broke the lock on it, and ran after the sailor that threw him down.
Mr. Ismay was over anxious, and he was getting a trifle excited.
Lower away! Lower away! Lower away!
If you will get to hell out of that, I shall be able to do something. Do you want me to lower them away quickly? You will have me drown the whole lot of them!
So I went in the boat. 2 officers came along and said that all the men should get out and let the ladies in. At first the men fought and would not get out, but then the officers drew their revolvers and fired shots over our heads. All but 6 men got out. I think they were firemen and sailors. I was crying. There was a woman in the boat. She'd thrown her shawl over me and told me to stay in there.
Mrs. Astor.
They did not see me, and the boat was lowered down into the water.
We were being lowered down decks, and I saw a lot of Italians, the Latin people, all along the ship's rails. They were glaring like wild beasts ready to spring, and that is why I yelled to look out and let go, bang, right along the ship's side. I said, any of you attempting to get into these boats while we are lowered down, I will shoot them!
They didn't just fire into the air. Some of the steerage were victims.
There's no evidence to that effect.
No.
It seems to me that I can still hear the cries for help. Some were shot when they wanted to crowd their way up into the lifeboat. Call Miss Bill, 3rd class passenger.
When the boat was being lowered, I saw the officer point a revolver and said, if any man tried to get into this boat, he would shoot him on the spot. I saw the officer shoot 2 men dead because they tried to get into the boat. Eugene Daly,
Merely hearsay.
made forward.
2 letters, written soon after the accident. Neither one knew the other. Even one of your precious first-class passengers put it into an exit.
Well, you see, last boat was leaving. I saw an officer with a revolver fire a shot and kill a man who was trying to climb into it. There remained nothing more for him to do. He said, "Gentlemen, each man for himself, goodbye." He then gave a military salute and fired a bullet into his head.
That never.
George Miles.
That's simply untrue.
Maybe was Officer murdered after a while, but neither body was recovered, so I guess we'll never know. But your men did fire at us.
Well, I believe otherwise.
So be it.
What can be agreed upon is that things got unruly as the lifeboats became scarce.
Yes.
And that's when you decided to leave, correct?
I've been through this before,
You
madam.
simply couldn't find any other women in
No,
his
madam, I
I
could
find
not.
that difficult.
Madam, before you begin your self-righteous probing of the choices made, please listen carefully. For whatever reason, there was no throng of people pushing to get onto this lifeboat. So after repeated calling and calling, the decision was made to lower the boat, though there were several seats to spare. Suddenly, a terrible choice lay before me. A small wooden boat representing life and safety, or a slow lingering demise in frigid waters. Tell me, madam, what would you have me do? With a wife, children, and a world that would be demanding answers, what moral, dignified, and gentlemanly decision would you have me make? Was taking that simple step off the deck into the collapsible boat so immoral?
Perhaps I may have.
Tell me, when was it decided that certain death is a preferable choice? When one has made a commitment to one's family? Perhaps we should ask Mrs. Ashton, or Mrs. Ryerson, or Mrs. Hayes. Should we ask them, is there comfort in knowing your husband heroically stayed with the sinking ship? I find this whole attitude absurd and unnecessarily abusive.
Right. You're right. My apologies, Mr. Ismay.
Thank you.
You said you laid off this and waited until it quieted down. Until what quieted down?
Until the drowning people had thinned out.
But your boat had a water capacity of 65 people.
Yes, but what are you going to do with a boat of 65 when 1,600
You
people
could
are
have
drowning?
saved 15.
You could not do it, sir.
At least you made no attempt to do it.
I made the attempt, sir, as soon as any man could do so, and I'm not scared to say it. I did not hang back or anything else.
I'm not saying you hung back. It's just
You had to do so. It was absolutely useless for me to go in amongst the wreckage. It would have been suicide.
Your ship is gone.
Yes, she went down in about 2:20.
Were there many people left on board when she sank?
Hundreds and hundreds. Perhaps 1,000. My God, sir, they go down with them. They couldn't live in this icy cold water.
The tolling of the bells on the Mackie Bennett, summoned all hands to the boat deck, with any bodies are to be committed to the deck. Each carefully weighted, each carefully sewn up and compass. 'Tis a weird scene discovering. For nearly 2 hours, the words, for as much as it hath pleased, we therefore commit his body to the deep, are repeated, and at each throw comes a splash, and away the body plunges into the sea, to sink a depth of about 2 miles. Splash, splash, splash.